Alex did not sleep well. She drifted in and out of shallow dreams, each one dissolving the moment she tried to grasp it. She woke several times with the sense that something had shifted in the room, though nothing ever had. The flat was still. The air was still. The only sound was the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. When her alarm finally buzzed, she felt as if she had not slept at all. She sat up slowly, rubbing her eyes. Her laptop was still on the coffee table, closed but not put away. The sight of it made her stomach tighten. She had not meant to leave it there. She usually tied it up before bed. But last night she had been too unsettled to think about routine. She showered, dressed, and made coffee, moving through the motions of her morning with a mechanical precision that felt unlike her. She kept glancing at the laptop, as if expecting it to open on its own. Eventually she gave in. She sat on the sofa again, pulled the laptop onto her knees, and opened the file. The chapter resumed exactly where she had left off. The fictional Alex stood in the alley, her hand on the brass handle of the door marked with the strange symbol. The narration described the cold metal against her skin, the faint tremor in her fingers, the way her breath fogged in the air. Alex swallowed and scrolled. The next section shifted into a detailed description of the murder method. She had expected something dramatic. A chase. A struggle. A weapon. Something cinematic. Instead, the writing was quiet. Precise. Almost intimate. The killer approached from behind. No dramatic footsteps. No shouted threats. Just a presence. A shadow. A hand closing around the victim's wrist with a calm certainty that made Alex's skin crawl. The narration described the killer's movements with unsettling clarity. The angle of the grip. The pressure applied. The way the victim's balance shifted. The way her breath caught in her throat. Alex felt her own breath catch. She forced herself to keep reading. The murder method was not flashy. It was not theatrical. It was disturbingly plausible. A technique that required strength, yes, but also knowledge. Skill. The kind of thing someone could learn. The kind of thing someone could practice. Her pulse quickened. She scrolled again. The chapter described the location in more detail. The crates stacked against the wall. The puddle reflecting the flickering bulb. The narrowness of the alley. The way the victim's body slumped in a specific position, as if arranged. Alex frowned. She knew that alley. Not exactly. Not perfectly. But the description was close to a place she passed on her walk home from the station. A narrow cut through behind a row of shops. She had walked it dozens of times. She had never thought much about it. It was just a shortcut. Her chest tightened. She kept reading. The fictional Alex dropped her keys during the struggle. They clattered against the pavement. The narration described the sound in vivid detail. A metallic ring. A brief echo. A moment of stillness. Alex froze. Her keys had fallen from her bag last week. She had been unlocking her door when the strap slipped. The keys had hit the ground with a sharp metallic sound that had startled her. She had laughed it off at the time. Coincidence. It had to be coincidence. She scrolled again. The chapter described the victim's phone buzzing in her pocket during the attack. A message from a friend. A simple notification that went unanswered. Alex stared at the line. Her phone had buzzed last night. A motion alert. A false alarm. A shadow in an empty corridor. She closed her eyes and took a slow breath. It was fiction. Just fiction. Thorne was known for writing scenes that felt real. That was his skill. That was why people bought his books. She was reading too much into it. She was letting her imagination run wild. She opened her eyes and forced herself to continue. The chapter shifted into a description of the killer's ritual. Not a supernatural ritual. Not anything dramatic. Just a pattern. A methodical arrangement of the scene. The way the body was positioned. The way the surroundings were left untouched. The way the killer paused for a moment, as if admiring their work. Alex felt a cold ripple move through her. She scrolled. The final paragraphs of the scene described the killer leaving the alley. The narration lingered on the sound of their footsteps fading into the night. The flicker of the bulb overhead. The stillness that settled after they were gone. Then the chapters shifted perspective again. A passerby discovered the body. Their reaction was described in vivid detail. Shock. Confusion. A moment of disbelief. The way they fumbled for their phone to call for help. Alex exhaled slowly. She reached the end of the scene and closed the laptop. Her hands were trembling. She sat back against the sofa and stared at the ceiling. The room felt too quiet. Too still. The air felt heavy, as if the scene she had just read had seeped into the walls. She tried to rationalize it. The alley was generic. Lots of alleys looked like that. The murder method was realistic because Thorne prided himself on research. The keys. The phone. The symbol. All coincidences. All explainable. But the explanations felt thin. She stood up and paced the room, trying to shake off the tension. She told herself she was being ridiculous. She told herself she was letting a piece of fiction get under her skin. She told herself she needed to get a grip. But the unease clung to her. She stopped by the window and looked out at the street below. People walked past with umbrellas. Cars splashed through puddles. A cyclist in a bright yellow jacket sped by. Everything looked normal. She pressed her hand against the cold glass. She needed to talk to someone. Jamie, maybe. Or her sister. Someone who would laugh and tell her she was being dramatic. Someone who would pull her back to reality. She reached for her phone. Before she could unlock it, the screen lit up with a new notification. Your prize experience is about to begin. Alex's breath caught. The message had no sender. No subject. No explanation. Just the words. She stared at the screen, her pulse thudding in her ears. The fictional chapter had described a moment just like this. A message. A warning. A beginning. Alex lowered the phone slowly. The room felt colder. The silence felt heavier. And for the first time, she wondered if the fictional murder was not just fiction. Not entirely.